Billionaire discovers his son's incredible friendship with a cleaner, revealing a heartwarming bond across class lines. William Harrington sat in his sleek office, sunlight glinting off his golden cufflinks. The hum of prosperity surrounded him. Perfectly manicured lawns and shining luxury cars populated the streets of his suburban Californian enclave. To him, success was defined by the quantity of zeros in his bank account, a world far removed from the struggles of everyday life. He was utterly consumed by his empire, blissfully ignorant of the reality buzzing just beyond his gated community. Meanwhile, in that same affluent neighborhood, Jamie struggled to make ends meet. A single father in his late 30s, he scrubbed floors at the exclusive school where William's son, also named Alex, roamed the halls. Every stroke of his mop was a reminder of the life he fought hard to provide for his son. Jamie taught young Alex about hard work and respect, embedding in him values that pulsed within his very being, values that he desperately hoped would offer a better life. On one fateful day, while laughter echoed across the school playground, Jamie's Alex and William's Alex forged an unbelievable friendship. They bonded over superheroes and video games, each giggle and cheer ringing joyfully in the air like a lovely orchestra. As Jamie observed from a distance, his heart swelled with pride. Here was hope, a connection that broke down invisible barriers, breaking his son's isolation and making him bloom with joy. But as news of this blossoming friendship reached William, fury ignited within him. Born of privilege and a refusal to understand, he maintained a wall against the outside world. How could Jamie's son befit in Harrington? Frustration seized his chest as he confronted his own Alex, insistent on steering him away from friendships of that caliber. But young Alex felt a flicker of something, a quiet rebellion kindled by the lessons of kindness he learned from Jamie's son. He didn't understand his father's fears or foe's superiority. He only saw a loyal friend. As Jamie's job at the school hung by a thread after a petty incident, William found himself standing at a crossroads. Would he let his precious, gilded bubble burst? He arrived that afternoon, ready to reprimand. Yet, what he encountered shattered his expectations. Willing to stand tall for his friend, Alex spoke of Jamie's strength and values, portraying a truth that Jeremy's ignorance nearly eclipsed. It was a moment weighted with revelation. William grappled with the distinction between merit and worth, and suddenly, the pristine facade of his world cracked. Throughout the confrontation that followed, emotions raged like wildfires, converging as Jamie's future perilously dangled before them. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With emotions spiraling, the two fathers were caught in an unprecedented moment of reckoning. Could William shed the shackles of prejudice that restrained him? Could he learn from the virtues embodied in Jamie, a man he once deemed beneath him? Meanwhile, as Jamie's dreams of stability flickered like a candle's last light, the bond between their sons outshone class distinctions, compelling an undeniable realization: true character knows no economic boundaries. As tensions crescendoed, an unspoken question loomed large. Could the billionaire's journey towards redemption save not only Jamie's job, but something far more precious, his son's friendship? William stood frozen, the weight of his world crashing down around him. His son, no longer just a reflection of his wealth and privilege, was defending a friendship that contradicted everything he thought he knew. A mixture of anger and confusion ignited inside him when he looked at Alex, who was standing up for Jamie's son, with a fierce glimmer of loyalty in his eyes. "Dad, you don't understand," young Alex pleaded, his tone purposefully passionate. Jamie's son isn't just a cleaner kid. He's my best friend. He teaches me things no one else can. Please, you have to see that. For a moment, William felt himself wavering. It was as if bubbling emotions confronted him, demanding to be acknowledged. His world, meticulously arranged within the confines of wealth, suddenly felt fragile. Could he really try to silence the truth his son spoke with such unwavering conviction? Jamie stood across from him, heart pounding. His dreams of stability were wrapped within this moment, balanced precariously on the fine line of the confrontation. Did he dare to hope that William might change? Could the power of innocence, the friendship of their sons, lead to transformation? "Your son deserves to have friends, William," Jamie said softly, grounding his words in desperation but laced with hope. "Do we not hope for what is best for our kids? What kind of legacy do we want to leave for them?" This he gestured toward the playground where his son laughed, the sound pure and genuine. "This is real." William clenched his fists, memories swirling in his mind, the nights spent poring over projections, the pressure, the relentless need to uphold a facade of success. But now, as he watched the boys play, a tiny ripple of something new began to seep through the cracks. "Do you even see what you are doing?" Jamie continued, his voice cutting through William's haze. "You're denying these boys a chance to grow because of something as meaningless as social class. Are you really willing to shatter their friendship just to maintain your status quo?" A silence hung between them, heavy with raw, unprocessed fear. William's eyes followed the laughter, the joy that flowed freely without barriers. The innocence of childhood floated away, blissfully unaware of the battles that raged in the adult world. Could a friendship so genuine bridge the divide, the very thing he had spent his life building? Realizing the question weighed heavily in the air, he felt his defenses crumbling. This was not simply about Jamie or his son. It was now directed inward at himself. In that moment of vulnerability, William made a choice. What if he could let go of prejudice and instead learn from the little moments his son experienced? A bold new sense of responsibility formed, urging him to break free from his gilded cage while unveiling the beauty in unity. Yet, just as he contemplated this transformation, a commotion broke out on the playground. A group of older boys appeared, their shadows looming over Alex and Jamie's son as they whispered maliciously. "Look at them, playing together like little peasants." Their laughter grated on William's ears like nails on a chalkboard. In an instant, he realized the challenge wasn't over. This was only the beginning of something far deeper, a trial that would test not only his son's spirit, but his own willingness to challenge societal norms for friendships that defied expectation. As he looked at the boys, a fire ignited within William. The question remained, was he ready to stand up against what he had always known? The answer felt like a murmur in his heart, but the battle wasn't won yet. The next move was critical, and it was coming for both fathers. Would courage take root in their hearts, or would they let fear define their paths? William took a deep breath, his heart racing. He had never expected to find himself in this position, staring down both his beliefs and his son's unwavering resolve. The laughter of the children echoed through the air, but the taunts of the older boys began to drown it out. The way they laughed, the sneers on their faces, it all felt like a far too familiar reminder of the world he navigated every day. But right now, that world felt irrelevant. "Stay away from them," William shouted, the words coming out harsher than he intended. The older boys turned to him, their surprise quickly replaced with defiance. He realized he didn't just want to stand by. He wanted to protect his son and Jamie's too. "Dad?" Alex's voice rang out, mixed with both confusion and hope. It felt like a portrait of innocence at risk, and William's heart sank. "Come here," William called to his son, his voice low but firm. He took a step forward, feeling adrenaline surge. Jamie's son, wide-eyed with uncertainty, hovered near Alex. Their friendship was under threat, and William wasn't sure how to shield them from it. The older boys strutted toward him, their tone mocking. "What are you going to do, mister?" "They'll just keep playing with each other, no matter how much you yell." William held his ground, steadying himself. It was time to speak up, not just for his son, but for everyone involved. What matters more, the laughter or creating barriers that shouldn't exist? His voice caught some of the bystanders off guard, and they turned a bit, intrigued by the confrontation. For a moment, there was silence. Those words floated on the breeze, and even the taunting boys hesitated. Watching them, William understood for the first time what was at stake. It wasn't about riches. It wasn't about names. It was about his son, about Jamie's son, and about creating a world where they could stand together united. "What are you talking about?" One of the boys sneered, though his bravado faltered. "They're just kids." "They're kids who deserve respect," William countered, clenching his jaw. "They deserve friendship without fear of what anyone thinks. Just look at them." He pointed toward Alex and Jamie's son. They stood together, side by side, both confused yet emboldened by the moment. "Your kids should know better," William continued, now addressing the crowd that had begun to gather. "Don't you remember what it was like to be young? Remember the friendships that meant everything? Why are we teaching our children to mock what they don't understand?" The murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd, and William saw cautious nods. It wasn't just about the boys outside. Those stifled voices challenged a grown man's misguided ideas too. Aware of his vulnerability, William took another step forward, feeling more connected to the humanity that surrounded him. If we want a better future, it starts with us. It starts with teaching our children how to stand together. The older boys exchanged glances, uncertainty slowly creeping in. William felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps the first seeds of change were being sown. As the taunting subsided, he turned back to Alex. His son's eyes shone with pride. "I can't believe you just did that, Dad. But what if I fail?" The question loomed, heavy in the air. Was he brave enough to keep standing up for what was right, even when the tide turned against him? He looked at Jamie, whose expression was a mix of relief and gratitude. Before anything else could be said, a familiar voice cut through the gathering, charging back into focus. What in the world is going on here? It was his wife. There was no doubt. This would only escalate from here. Would she support this newfound resolve, or would she reignite the old fears? The next moment felt like a reckoning, and it was coming for both families. Would they find strength in unity, or would fear divide them once more? William turned, his heart racing anew at the sight of his wife, Sarah. Her brow furrowed with concern, her eyes darting from him to the gathering crowd, and then back to the two boys standing defiantly next to Alex. The weight of the moment pressed down on him, like a heavy stone in his stomach. He had faced many challenges in life, but this felt different. "William, is everything okay?" Sarah asked, her voice teetering between confusion and anxiety. He opened his mouth, wanting to explain, to share the swirling emotions and realizations that had come crashing down around him in the past minutes. But he hesitated, caught somewhere between fear of judgment and the unmistakable need to protect their son. "Mom," Alex interjected, his voice bright but shaky. "Dad just stood up to those kids. He said we should be friends, no matter what." The excitement in his son's voice cut through William's doubts. Sarah's expression softened, but the caution remained. "Sweetheart, sometimes standing up for what's right can lead to trouble." "Are you sure, Mom?" Alex said firmly. "I want to be friends with Jamie, just like we always talked about. It's not fair that just because of other kids we have to hide." William felt a rush of pride in his son's courage. This wasn't just about the summer day or the park. It was about the world they had to navigate, a world often tangled in fear and prejudice. "They're just kids, too," William said, his voice raw with emotion. "If they can learn to accept each other, can't we?" As tension rippled through the crowd, William turned to the older boys again. Their bravado was faltering, the ridicule replaced by uncertainty. And Sarah, typically the voice of reason, stood there, pulled between caution and the awakening sparks of hope within the crowd and her family. "But what if some kids are just bad, William?" she asked quietly, her heart clearly still battling her mind. "Maybe," he conceded, nodding, "but what if we can teach our kids to rise above that? Can't we break the cycle?" The silence had thickened into something palpable. Each face in the crowd stared, some nodding, others squinting, as if trying to make sense of the unfolding drama. William took a deep breath, the air suddenly heavy with expectation. Did they really want change? Sarah stepped closer to William, her hand gripping his arm. She met his gaze, and in her eyes, he saw a flicker of understanding, a realization that this moment could be a turning point. "I don't want to see Alex hurt, William. I just want to keep him safe," she finally whispered. The honesty in her voice pierced him. He understood the instinct to protect, to shield the ones he loved from potential pain. But at what cost? "We all want that," he said gently, "but safety can't come from avoidance. We can't teach him fear." The crowd began to murmur in agreement, voices rising like a wave, feeding into the momentum he had generated. One of the older boys stepped forward hesitantly, brow furrowed. "You think we should just be friends just like that?" "Yes," Alex shouted with unexpected intensity. "We can be friends if you just stop being mean." Shock and silence hung in the air. For a brief moment, everything felt suspended, as though the universe had paused to await the outcome of this moment. William could see hesitation on the boys' faces. Maybe they were just boys trying to fit in, just like his son and Jamie were. Maybe, one of them finally muttered, the bravado waning, "But that's not how it works normally, why not?" Jamie's son piped up, his voice steady. "Does it have to be like that?" In that moment, William felt the threads of hope weaving together, binding them in something greater than fear. He saw Jamie's kid standing there alongside Alex, both of them on the brink of something beautiful. But just as the air began to feel lighter, as if a shift was occurring within the group, a looming shadow darkened the sunlit park. Another voice, deeper and more commanding, called out from the edge of the crowd. "Let us see what these kids are really made of." The laughter of the older boys faded, and a new tension tightened around everyone. Who was this newcomer? What did he want? And would he shatter all the fragile hope that had just begun to bud? William's heart sank as he prepared for what might come next. Would they all be willing to face this together? And what would it take to break through the hate that seemed ever present? William's eyes darted to the newcomer as he stepped into the sunlight, an imposing figure with a deep scowl etched across his face. He towered over the other kids, and the weight of his presence was enough to squeeze the air out of the joyful atmosphere they'd been trying to create. "Who are you?" one of the older boys stammered, retreating slightly as intimidation washed over him. The stranger smirked, pulling the attention of the crowd like iron filings to a magnet. "Just a concerned citizen. I've seen kids like you before. Always eager to play the hero." His voice dripped with sarcasm, echoing in the silence. "But this world isn't just some playground. It's harder, and you need to toughen up." William's stomach twisted. It wasn't just the man's words that brought darkness. It was something deeper, a sense of familiarity that felt almost threatening. He could feel the fear creeping back into Sarah's grip as she tightened her hold on his arm. It mirrored his own rising anxiety. "Nothing wrong with wanting to make friends, is there?" Alex piped up, his voice unsteady, yet brimming with more courage than William felt. But the newcomer laughed, a loud, mocking sound that traveled through the crowd and settled like a chill. "Friends don't come from all backgrounds, kid. You can pretend all you want, but you'll regret it." His eyes flickered to Jamie's son, lingering just long enough for William to see the boy shrink back. Why would we regret it? Alex challenged, raising his chin defiantly, but William could see the cracks forming in the facade of bravery. His son was scared, the bravado was faltering. The man looked at Alex, sizing him up, as if contemplating whether to crush his spirit now or later. Because the ones you're deciding to befriend? They're trouble. You'd be better off alone than with a kid like that. He gestured dismissively at Jamie's son. No! Alex shouted, stepping forward with a rush of adrenaline. You don't get it. Everyone deserves a chance. Just because someone is different doesn't mean they're bad. Gasps spread like ripples through the gathered crowd, and William felt Sarah's tension grow until it felt like the ground was shaking beneath them. Brave words for a kid, the man sneered. But bravery is just foolishness dressed up. You're all just kids playing pretend in a world that will eat you alive. William's heart hammered painfully in his chest. What would it take to shift this moment back into hope? Hey, he called out, stepping into the space between his son and the stranger. It's not about being brave or foolish. It's about choosing love. About showing compassion. The man's gaze sharpened. Compassion? He echoed mockingly. Let me tell you about compassion. Compassion lies in your choice to protect your own from disaster. Protection can't come from hate, William shot back, every nerve alight, fueled by a sudden rush of assertiveness. You teach kids fear, and you create a cycle of hate that repeats. But when you teach them to embrace differences, you empower them. There was a stunned silence, as if the whole world held its breath, teetering on the edge of decision. In that moment, the boys standing with the newcomer looked at each other, uncertainty etched on their faces. But before anyone could respond, a small voice came from the back of the crowd, timid yet resolute. My dad always said that friendship is the strongest shield we can choose. You can't just decide who is worth being friends with. Everyone turned to see a girl, small and bold, standing with hands on her hips. She had the courage of 10 adults, her small frame radiating defiance. William felt his heart swell with pride for the children around him. They were the ones who could lead the change, who could forge new paths where hate had once ruled. Then, the newcomer's expression hardened again, something simmering beneath the surface. This isn't over, he growled, taking a step back, but William noticed the doubt reflected in the eyes of the boys still lingering near him. As the man retreated, the energy in the park began to shift. Kids, emboldened by the exchange, began murmuring encouragements, supporting one another. William turned to Sarah, who was watching with a mix of hope and trepidation. Did we make a difference? He whispered, searching her eyes for confirmation. I don't know, but I want to believe we did, she replied softly, her fingers beginning to relax from their vice grip. The atmosphere hung thick with possibility. He felt the atmosphere shifting, a swell of hope beginning to emerge. Yet, he knew they had only begun the fight against the shadow that loomed large. What would the next confrontation bring? Would they be strong enough to face it together? And how far would they really go to break the cycle of fear that had haunted their community for too long? The afternoon sun bathed the park in warm light, making everything seem brighter, more hopeful. But beneath the smooth surface, a storm brewed. William stood rooted in that moment, inhaling the scents of grass and warmth, mixed with the distant sounds of children playing. But his thoughts were wrapped around the man's parting words. This isn't over. In the wake of the confrontation, Alex was still buzzing with adrenaline. His cheeks flushed with excitement mixed with a lingering tremor of fear. Did you see that, Dad? Did you? He burst out, turning to William, his eyes wide with an energy that seemed to radiate from his very core. Yeah, buddy, I saw, William replied, trying to conceal the concern in his voice. You were brave. And that guy, he is wrong. I mean, Friends can come from anywhere. We should listen to him. Alex's tone was a mix of defiance and disbelief. William's heart raced. He didn't want to squash Alex's enthusiasm, but he couldn't ignore the fact that the man had struck a chord of fear, one that might echo in their small community. It's true, Alex, friendships can come from anywhere. But sometimes, people are afraid of what they don't understand. That man wants to keep people separated. A small group of kids gathered around Alex, excited chatter buzzing. They seemed to blossom in the wake of courage, like wildflowers pushing through concrete. One boy, Sam, who had been standing quietly off to the side, suddenly stepped forward, eyes shining. We have to stand together. If we keep showing that we're friends, he can't do anything, right? That's the spirit, Alex encouraged, sensing the gathering energy. But what if he comes back? What if he brings more people? Jamie's son asked, worry flaring across his face. We can't think like that. We have to be stronger than fear, Alex insisted, a fire igniting in his small frame. William watched, pride swelling in his chest. These kids were teaching him more than he could teach them. Their resilience was inspiring. But the worry bubbled just beneath the surface. He understood that the line drawn by the stranger was one that many adults would uphold. This might not be the end. It's okay to be scared. Everyone feels that way sometimes, William said, kneeling to meet their eyes. But you have to remember that the kindness you show each other is what matters most. You have the power to change things. Let us plan a big party or something. With games and food. Everyone will come, and if we share kindness, the whole place can be filled with it. Sarah suggested, her own spirit rekindled. What if we invite him too? A voice piped up from the group, a bold, mischievous smirk on his face. Laughter erupted, cutting neatly through the tension. Yeah, let us throw him a kindness party. Someone else chimed in. But what if he doesn't want to come? Jamie's son interjected again, concerns flooding back in. William rose, swinging an arm around his son's shoulders, feeling Alex lean into him. It's about sending a message. We can't control how others react, but we can control how we choose to respond. As the conversation shifted to plans for their big event, William felt a warmth wrap around him. The sun shone down brighter, lifting the shadows that had lingered over the park moments before. Yet, he couldn't shake the feeling that this wouldn't be the last they'd see of that man. As they discussed games, food, and music, William looked beyond the laughter. Just beyond the trees, the silhouette of the stranger loomed in the distance, his expression unreadable. Would their newfound hope withstand the tempest he represented? Would the children's energy be enough to dispel the gathering storm? How far would they have to go to protect their dreams of unity? The questions weighed heavy in William's heart, a reminder of the challenges that still lay ahead. The next day, excitement buzzed through the air as the children converged in the park with overflowing enthusiasm. The plan for the kindness party was in full swing, and Alex was at the heart of it all, rallying his friends like a miniature general. Colorful posters featuring hand-drawn hearts and smiling faces decorated the park, a vibrant challenge to the darkness that loomed beyond the trees. "Can we have a jumping castle?" shouted Sarah, jumping up and down. "Of course." Alex beamed, his hands animated. "And a face-painting booth. I want a dragon." William stood back, watching the children's relentless creativity unfold. It felt bittersweet, mingled with a sense of urgency. Each cheerful laugh echoed a silent promise of unity, yet the memory of the stranger's warning loomed over them like a dark cloud. "Hey, Dad?" Alex's tone shifted, a mix of hope and uncertainty. He approached, tugging on William's sleeve. "What if we made a big sign? Like, 'Everyone is welcome,' in big letters? That way the nasty guy will see it too." William nodded, his heart swelling at Alex's idea. "That sounds amazing. Let us make it as colorful as possible. Show him we believe in friendship, no matter what." The group cheered, their voices overlapping in a symphony of youthful optimism. But as they crafted their sign, William couldn't help feeling the tension balance precariously. He glanced toward the trees, half expecting to see the stranger's silhouette again. Just then, as they painted, a shadow flickered across the sun. William turned abruptly, only to find a woman approaching, her expression uncertain. She carried a small basket filled with cupcakes, eyeing the vibrant gathering from a distance. Excuse me? I saw you all from across the park," she hesitated, taking a few careful steps closer. "I'm new here, and I thought I might bring something sweet." A welcome gesture. The kids, sensing her kindness, rushed toward her, eyes wide. "Cupcakes!" they cried in unison, their energy infectious. William could feel warmth in his chest, pulling him out of his protective stance. "Thank you," he stepped forward, smiling at her. "We're planning a kindness party. Want to join us?" Her tense posture relaxed, a smile spreading across her face. "I'd love to help in any way I can." And just like that, the woman stepped into their circle, exchanging laughter and stories. She shared her fears of moving to a new place, and the kids welcomed her in, assuring her that everyone was a friend here. It felt as if a new thread of community was woven into the fabric of their gathering. As the day progressed, the park began to fill with families, drawn in by the joyous atmosphere. Kids played games, and laughter echoed where tension had once threatened to take hold. But just as a sense of peace settled, William's heart dropped when he spotted a familiar silhouette at the edge of the park. The stranger stood watching, arms crossed, a furious scowl etched on his face. "Stay close," William warned Alex and the others, his voice low. "Is he back?" Alex whispered, a tremor of apprehension threading through his words. "Just stay focused on spreading kindness," William urged, though his insides twisted with fear. He felt torn between protection and the belief that the children could rise above the moment. With the sign finished, the children beamed proudly at their creation. "Everyone is welcome." It read in bright colors, a brave, bold declaration that felt powerful. "Let us show him," Alex shouted, and before William could protest, Alex approached the stranger, standing firm. "Sir," he called out, his voice steady despite the tremor in William's gut. The group watched with bated breath, hearts thumping. Would this be a moment of unity, or a deepening threat? "Don't you want to be part of this? We're all friends here, and you can be too." William felt the weight of the world resting on his son's small shoulders. The air grew tense, the afternoon sun now casting long shadows toward the man. Emotions churned: fear, hope, and a yearning for resolution filled the space between them. And in that charged moment, everything hung in the balance. What would happen next? Would the stranger be moved by the children's unyielding spirit, or would he drown it in darkness? The stage was set. The next move could change everything. The stranger stood motionless, arms still crossed but eyes shifting to the colorful sign that boldly declared, "Everyone is welcome." It was as if Alex's words hung in the air, each syllable a fragile bridge between their worlds. For a moment, time seemed to stretch. The other children sat in anticipation, unsure of what would unfold next. William held his breath, feeling the urgency of the moment pulsate through him. The stranger's scowl deepened, and William's heart raced. What would he say? "Children these days, you think you can just invite anyone," the man finally spoke, his voice gravelly like the ground beneath their feet. "We can. Because everyone deserves kindness," Alex replied, unyielding. "I know you've been lonely. You don't have to be." The stranger blinked, surprised by the boy's sincerity. William's heart softened. Alex was such a brave little warrior. But would it be enough? "Kindness won't change anything," the man scoffed, his voice cold and unyielding. "People always let you down. But what if it starts changing something? shouted Sarah, stepping up beside Alex. Her face was earnest, complete with hopeful determination. You could have friends. We could all help each other. William squeezed Alex's shoulder, both proud and anxious. The man seemed taken aback by their boldness, his eyes darting around as if scanning the children's faces, searching for a hidden agenda. Friends do let you down. That's how the world is, he insisted, his voice lacking conviction but wrapped in skepticism. Maybe, Alex shot back, the honesty of his words piercing the air. But people can also lift you up. Didn't you see the cupcakes? We're a team, and we're throwing this party to make everyone feel special. Even you. The man's frown faltered. He glanced at the gathering children, their faces glowing with determination and hope. William watched as the edges of this stranger's stoic demeanor began to crumble just a bit. Why would you want me here? The man finally asked, confusion lacing his voice, as if he were genuinely grappling with an unexpected notion. Because you can be part of something great, Alex replied, his voice unwavering. You can help us be kind like superheroes. Every superhero has a tough backstory, right? You could be our team's mentor. Mutters of approval rippled through the group. Yeah, echoed a few kids. We need you. William was astounded. Who would have thought that the courageous words of a child could forge a connection? The stranger's defenses seemed to weaken. Still, he hesitated, his posture stiff caught between the warmth of their hopes and the cold of his distrust. Not everyone is deserving of kindness, kid, he replied sharply, but even as he spoke, William could see a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. What if you gave kindness a chance? William added, stepping forward as a supportive figure. What if this time is different? The man shifted, eyes tightening, but something in them softened as he took a long, deep breath. The afternoon sun beamed brightly, illuminating Alex and Sarah standing resolute, a beacon of youth's optimism that felt invincible. What if he murmured, more to himself than anyone else, brows furrowing as he considered it? Suddenly, the cheers of children playing echoed nearby, a symphony of joyous laughter pulling the newcomer's focus. A sense of longing danced in his expression, the first glimmer of realization creeping into his hard exterior. Maybe I could, he finally admitted, though he spoke it like a confession. The atmosphere shifted, electric with possibility. Could this be the moment of connection they needed? Would the stranger take the leap towards kindness? William's heart raced with anticipation, wondering if they would witness a transformation. Just then, the cheer of children chimed louder, calling them back to the party, a gentle reminder of joy and community. Would he follow them in? The stranger stood there, the weight of decision heavy on his shoulders. What would he choose? Would he embrace that spark of belonging, or would he turn away? Hope hung in the balance, and all eyes were on him. The moment stretched, and in that charged silence, the sun danced through the trees, casting fleeting shadows that flickered around the stranger. William held his breath, feeling the intensity of the decision unfold before him like a thrilling finale at a school play. Would the man step back into darkness or take a brave step towards light? Finally, the stranger unfolded his arms, and for the first time, there was a hint of vulnerability in his stance. It's just I don't know if I'm ready for all this, he said, his voice softer now, almost brittle as if admitting a long-held secret. But we're all ready. Alex chimed in, his enthusiasm beaming. You could come with us, taste a cupcake, and see how it feels to just belong. That's what today is about. The man's gaze shifted. He stared at the cupcakes, then looked at the jubilant kids, lost in their games, laughter spilling like confetti in the warm air. It was infectious, that joy, and it fluttered against his defenses, daring him to feel. In that vulnerable moment, William felt a surge of courage rise within him. Come on, he urged, stepping closer, his voice gentle yet insistent. What have you got to lose? You've spent too long standing on that side of the fence. It's time to step over. He saw just a flicker in the man's eyes, a hesitant glint of longing for connection. Suddenly, Sarah chimed in again, inspired by the atmosphere. You could tell us your favorite story. She took a half step forward, lifting her chin like a tiny champion. Everyone loves a good story, right? The stranger hesitated, but then he let out a short, quick laugh, almost like he was surprised by it himself. A story? I haven't told a story in years. See? Alex grinned, feeling the shift. Just a little story, and you'll already be part of the team. The man stood there, quiet, wrestling with thoughts that had long remained buried. I've made too many mistakes, he murmured, almost inaudibly. Everyone makes mistakes, William said. What matters is what you do next. That's where your story can change. The man's brow furrowed deeply, uncertainty battling with the prospect of belonging. A powerful vulnerability washed over him, and he held their gaze, studying the children's open and hopeful faces. Finally, with a slow exhale, he took a hesitant step forward. The rustle of grass beneath his feet was like the first notes of a new song, a melody filled with hope and brave possibilities. He began, and just as it seemed as if the words would flow, a loud cheer erupted from the playground. The sound bolted through the air, a tidal wave of laughter that swept through the gathering, pulling them into its joyful rhythm. Come on! Come on! Shouted a group of kids nearby, their hands waving in invitation, as the energy of the party thickened all around them. Okay, the stranger said, a faint smile creeping up the corners of his mouth. Let us see what this is all about. The children burst into cheers, their elation encapsulating the air around them like a warm hug. William felt his heart swell. They'd done it. They'd welcomed him. As they walked toward the party, the man's body language softened, his shoulders relaxing as laughter enveloped him like a blanket. He took another deep breath, letting the air fill his lungs before lifting his head high, as if shedding an old weight. But then, as they neared the celebration, he paused, looking down at William. What if I mess this up? Then we'll help you, William replied, a mixture of excitement and assurance brewing inside him. That's what friends do. We're in this together. Just as the stranger opened his mouth to respond, the laughter echoed again, bright and ringing, a siren call tugging at hidden corners of his heart. The kids' laughter and cheers wrapped around them like magic. Would he dive into their world? Would he let go of the past completely? As they took that final step toward the party, William pondered the deep impact this connection could have on both of them. Could this be the beginning of something truly special? The atmosphere hummed with anticipation. What exactly would unfold at the party? And what stories would this stranger bring to life? The kindness party was alive with laughter and joy, the air thick with the smell of freshly baked cupcakes. Children dashed around, their giggles harmonizing like a melody in the warm afternoon sun. The vibrant sign declaring everyone is welcome stood proudly, a symbol of their collective belief in unity. William glanced at the stranger, now part of the gathering, but still bearing the weariness of past struggles. His new friend tentatively engaged with the kids, cautiously testing the waters of connection. Every shy smile he offered seemed to lessen the tension around him, as if the laughter of children painted over the deeper scars of his past. Hey, why don't you tell us a story? Alex piped up, approaching the man like a brave knight. His innocence was a magnet, drawing the man in closer. Others gathered nearby, their eyes wide with anticipation. The stranger hesitated, glancing around at the young faces eagerly waiting for a nugget of wonder. Well, it's been a while since I told one, his voice trailed off, but there was a flicker of interest, the first spark of hope. But stories are exciting. Jamie's son chimed in, clutching his friend's hand. You could be our hero today. A small laugh escaped the man, surprised yet oddly touched, and just like that, the ice began to crack. Okay, I think I can do that, he finally said, managing a smile that transformed his stern features. William watched as the children gathered around in a circle, their eager faces illuminated with expectation. It wasn't just about the tale. It was about bringing together a sense of community that had eluded everyone for so long. Slowly, the stranger began to weave a story filled with mythical creatures and adventurous quests, and as he spoke, the children leaned in closer, entranced. Laughter erupted when he crafted silly voices for goblins, and soon a chorus of giggles rolled through the crowd. William felt overwhelmed with joy, seeing the barriers dissolving right before his eyes. The strangers were transforming into friends, beginning with shared laughter. As the story wound down and applause filled the air, the man looked at Alex, gratitude shining in his eyes. "Thank you. You gave me a chance today, something I hadn't felt in a long while." "Everyone deserves a chance," Alex replied earnestly, a spark of wisdom radiating from his tiny frame. "And that includes you." The words hung in the air, igniting a wave of agreement. There were nods and cheers, a unified front of young hearts pushing back against the shadows of fear and prejudice. This was a collective moment of transformation. Suddenly, the distant appearance of another figure marred the festive scene, a familiar but unwanted shadow creeping back onto the playground. It was the stranger who had mocked their friendship, fingers flexing dangerously at the sight of the jubilant scene. William felt adrenaline race through him, ready to confront the challenge once again. But before he could gather his breath, Jamie stepped forward, voice steady. "You came here with an idea of shame and dominance, and now you see hope before your eyes," he challenged, gesturing toward the party. "Are you really going to stand back and deny it?" The newcomer sneered, but there was surprise underneath. "What is this, a gathering of misfits?" He laughed, but now there was less bite in his tone, more curiosity. "No," came a chorus of voices, led strongly by Alex and Jamie's son. "We're friends." The children rallied together, standing tall, united against the negativity. William's heart soared. Their unity had transformed the atmosphere, molding something beautiful from the prior confrontation. "It's about love," Alex shouted, emotion choking his voice. "It's about being better. Are you willing to find out how being friends feels?" Jamie added, his spirit shining through like a beacon. The man's posture stiffened, but there was a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes, a crack in the armor. William stepped up beside Jamie, ready to challenge the barrier. "This is our community, and if you want to be part of it, don't you think it's time to embrace something different?" The newcomer's gaze fell on the sparkling children celebrating around him, their bright faces innocent yet fierce. Maybe I've been looking at this all wrong," he said slowly, and hope filtered through the air, thickening with each breath. As he took a tentative step forward, the children cheered, their excitement infectious. One voice cut through the din, a small girl presenting a cupcake. "Here. This is for you too." Confusion flickered across the man's face as he accepted the cupcake, glancing down at the joyful chaos surrounding him. Would he drop his armor and join them? William exhaled, feeling a weight lift from his chest. The ripple of change was real, and it spread warmth through the crowd. In that moment, the party morphed into a tapestry of acceptance, as the barriers between past and future began to dissolve. Would today mark a true new beginning? "Welcome," he whispered, eyes glistening with emotion. And just like that, the bonds of understanding began to weave themselves anew, knitting together a community defined by positivity, connection, and compassionate courage. "Let us keep this going," William declared, raising his voice above the gathering. "Let us show them kindness. Unite as families. Inspire the new generation." The crowd erupted in cheers, a formidable wave of energy radiating through the park. As laughter filled the air, William held Alex close, his son's spirit igniting a promise for brighter tomorrows. Every story, every laugh, felt anchored to the hope that they could shape a better future together, a world where friendship crossed every boundary. And as the day faded into the warmth of dusk, William realized that all it truly took to change the world was one brave step into kindness. Now, this is the moment you've been waiting for. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.